Okay guys, so we're back with another session. Hopefully my microphone is as loud as it can be. Let's check. I think it is. Just going to do some checks. Okay, so let's establish where we're at. We had high time frames sequential SMT relative to the monthly cycle at the highs. That translated to partial sequential SMT at the highs SMT, because that high is the highest high within that quarter, which wasn't taken. So this was a partial high. It was the aligned high, but nonetheless it was a partial high. So we have seen the market reprice, respect that, coupled with an hourly persistent swing point, supporting the idea of lower prices. The persistent swing point was confirmed. We obviously got in following the persistent swing point, trading down to a 4-hour inflection point. So we're just going to update a number of things just so that we can determine where we are. We can still see that we are in a premium of this range. Last time liquidity was taken here, last time liquidity was taken up here. So we're in a premium of that range. Premium of this range here on NQ as well. So okay, so that's where we are from a day standpoint. Is institutional order flow bullish? So we're just going to make some high level notes. And this is part of the process I like to undertake when I'm backtesting, is try and replicate and mimic as much of how you would analyze the markets in a live scenario, on a live day, because that what you're trying to breed is repetitive actions that you would do on a day-to-day basis. You want everything to be the same, methodical. Therefore, whatever you can do to ensure that your backtesting setup is more or less identical to your live, the better you'll be, because what you're trying to embed in backtesting is habits, repeatable habits, consistent patterns that you operate within on a day-to-day basis. That's what is going to ultimately stem and increase that flow of improvement. If you have a scattergun approach to things, where you don't have clear defined rules, then unfortunately you will ultimately fall by the wayside. I thought, in the last session that I probably had violated one of the rules in terms of which high time frame cracking correlations we're going to look, or specifically which models we were going to focus on. But in actual fact, I did include plus, and yesterday's trade is in fact it is plus. However, plus does use the true month open. The reality is we are above the true month open, which we can tell because the open of that is going to be somewhere around here. So we're above that. But we did use the true week open, which was fine. So let's get some information. So we're looking at institutional order flow. And what we can see. So currently, bear with me. Here we go. Okay, so currently this is to the upside. where we have seen a higher time frame displacement higher, okay, with the market manipulating lows and displacing through highs. So that is the fundamental of essentially displacement theory, but also at the same time institutional order flow and institutional sponsorship. We can see how price has displaced higher, seeking higher prices, displacing through manipulation of the lows, rejection. So supporting the idea of institutional order flow being bullish. We can see how bullish fair value gaps are being repriced and rebalanced, as we can see here, being repriced and rebalanced, or being left unfilled, with the market showing a willingness to price higher. So that is a sign that the market is trying to get somewhere as quickly as possible by having unfilled fair value gaps. Interesting one here, which is obviously a key fair value gap here, because it's at equilibrium where we would envisage some form of consolidation, but also at the same time it's inside this breaker here, so that could well be a draw on liquidity, or certainly a level of inflection. So institutional order flow, okay. External range liquidity to internal range liquidity, or external range liquidity and internal range liquidity. So the market traded both an old high, which is external range liquidity, where we then noted a rejection and also a high time frame cracking correlation, supporting the idea of lower prices. Okay. The market traded down into a BCD. Internal range liquidity, where now I want to see how the market is going to react as to whether we will see further lower prices. Okay, so so we could see the market continue to reprice lower. Which is possible, naturally. The Q4 old low, I'm just going to move this a second. So we're going to change that now to sorry, not the Q4. It's likely to be the Q3. Is likely to be the overarching drawn liquidity for order pairing could happen here, but we would need to see the market trade through all of this. So it is quite possible that the market is going to trade lower into sort of this area potentially, but not necessarily. I mean, if NQ trades below here, that could be a catalyst whereby ES does not need to trade all the way to equilibrium, but in actual fact, it will use a bullish PD array here, a discount PD array within a premium to support price going higher, because NQ would have fulfilled the objective of the indices trading down into a discount before we see higher prices. We are seeing liquidity built up here, so on NQ, so we also need to factor that. Okay, so I'm going to extend these out. So just so we've got a little bit more room, like so, and we should afford YM with the same courtesy. Okay. So let's continue. Yeah, so we want to see NQ is given the indication that it wants to continue lower. However, we want to see ultimately we want to see high probable conditions. So I'm going to drop down to 4 hour, which is predominantly a main swear. Okay, it's starting to that'll be monthly, weekly. Okay, so that's now previous day's low of Q1. Okay, we have previous day low here, and we now have within here previous day's high up here. I'm just going to mark off. Okay, and then I just want to take that and that, bring it over here, because we have previous day's low there, and we have a quite tight in there, but we'll mark it up. Previous day's high there, and also this gets the service. And then we want to afford YM with the same courtesies, and with YM we don't have a previous day's low because we don't have a 3 candle formation. We do have a previous day's high, and the other thing that I want to note is TOs. So currently ES and NQ are trading below their respective true week open, whilst YM is currently trading above. Therefore, to me, we have low probability conditions. Helps if I can spell. Now, yes, you'll get people who will trade today and say, hey, look, it was a low probability, look at what I did, etc., etc. It's all good and well. As far as I'm concerned, it's all good and well. I have my own model, my own way of trading, and as far as I'm concerned, that is the only way in which I'm going to approach the market moving forward. And taking you guys along the ride here is important to articulate that, and the sort of the teaching behind that is you really. I'm not somebody who turns around and says you shouldn't learn from people. You absolutely should, whereby their message that they're articulating is embedded in fact and tried and tested methods that they can do before you. And they also show you how to go about capturing the same results as what they did through their back testing methods or their live trading. Now, I am fundamentally an ICT student. However, I don't agree with a lot of what ICT says. I think ICT is a bad tutor, for one. You'll have thousands and thousands of people who will swear, and that's fine. I think if anybody really understands how to learn, the irony of the things that he says is the fact that he has many, many students who do the things that he challenges everybody else to do that he doesn't do, which is trade live in front of an audience. And they have quantified and qualified his teachings into I don't want to say bite-sized because it's not that small, but into digestible formats that allow people to learn quicker. And by quicker, I don't mean that it lacks substance, detail, accuracy. I'm not saying that, because they absolutely do. And in fact, I would press the point that in actual fact, they can teach his things better than him. Now, you'll get some people say that's not possible because he's the author, he's the authoritarian, the authority of that information, and that is true. However, if you take a student and subject them to ICT's way of teaching, for me, large parts of it I could take and I could articulate. I mean, I've got documents upon documents upon documents of all of ICT's teachings, verbatim, with diagrams, etc., etc. And I would still sit here and say, a lot I know from a theory standpoint, but to actually put the building blocks together, very difficult. So, you take a student, you subject them to that, and let's assume they learn 20%, right? Maybe it's a concept, maybe it's a group of concepts, maybe it's a model. It's not important, but they've taken away 20% of knowledge, so they still have a massive gap. Now, they find one of his many students, but verified, right? And they study the same concepts in videos that are a fraction of the length of ICT's waffle, and sometimes profanity and nonsense, if I'm being brutally honest with you. And of said concept, or concepts, or model, they now understand 70% of what ICT was trying to articulate. So through ICT, who was the author of the information, they managed to grasp 20% of knowledge that they could put together. Yet through a student who advocates and teaches, preaches, and does the things that ICT doesn't do, they've taken that understanding threshold or level up to 70%. 70% of something is better than 20%. And that could be the difference for that individual to now find consistency and profitability. That is why I disagree with some of the rhetoric that ICT spews to protect his own audience. There are many ICT students, and unfortunately for ICT, because they have put out so much proof in their own work, he can't discredit them. But there are many others who trade live in front of audiences and all the rest of it. I'll give you one last food for thought. Why doesn't ICT just take a series of challenges? He doesn't like to be affiliated with anybody. I agree. So take an account from all of them, utilize them, verify them, trade them up within the rules and confines of the proper count, get to a payout, donate the money to charity, prove your concepts yourself. But what ICT is doing is hiding behind his students' results, not his own. So just bear that in mind. Anyway, so down on the 4 hour, I'm just going to clean up my 1 hour chart because it appears to me I didn't do a very good job. Okay, so we're on the 4 hour. As I said, so we're looking at low probability conditions here. So what would make conditions high probability for me? Two things. ES and NQ run the previous day's low. YM trades down to this daily. I believe it's daily. Daily BISI below the true week open. That would form cracking correlation at the lows, supporting the idea of higher prices, and maintains bullish order flow. Conversely, ES and NQ trade higher, likely with NQ purging previous day's high, but ES not. YM would also purge its, form a cracking correlation there. We see lower prices, but the reality is look at where we are in the vicinity to the previous day's high. Hold on, we can get rid of this. I don't need that. And we don't need that. Let me just yes, there's no previous day's low. There's a previous day's high. Oh, we can get rid of that. Okay. However, with no previous day's low set for YM. Now the reality is, if we get a cracking correlation between ES and NQ, that would suffice, because that is the strongest of the correlations between the index future triad. But with YM not having a clear 3 candle previous day's low, it does reduce the probability of any form of cracking correlation at the lows and see higher prices. In my opinion, I think it's far more probable we'll see a continuation of lower prices, but we'll see. So from a 4-hour standpoint, we obviously have this now becoming an inversion fair value gap. Okay, so we're just going to mark that up, and we can see how the market traded through to it. Nobody's closing above here. Wicks trading higher, which is fine, and then trading lower. And then we have this one here, although to me less importance on this one, but nonetheless. Okay, so that's that. Ooh. This being a daily level here, price is balanced here. Okay. So we've got that. And we can see that in terms of the range, market is trading about equilibrium, so we can probably expect some form of consolidation. ES and YM are still trading in a very highly probable level for shorts, but again, we just need to wait and see. Okay, so we are at London. What we're going to do is go to the next session to see.
Sorry, I don't have an answer for that.
Alexa, stop. Apologies. Right, so I'm going to drop down to the hourly. Just going to get rid of that as well. And that, which we used. Great effect. Okay. So we've got London high. Okay. And we've got London low right there. So you can see how we've got engineered liquidity at the lows, which is interesting. Jeez. Okay. I'm just going to God, good grief. There we go. get rid of that from here, not needed. Low there, high there. Low there, and the high there. Okay. Now, when looking at what price has been doing here, to me, it looks as though we've repriced higher. As you can see, there's no imbalances at all. So we've repriced higher. Above the true week open. NQ has largely done the same. I can see YM trade higher to purge its previous day's high, if I'm honest. That to me seems very plausible. And that would, again, I can't see NQ trading that high, so not something that I would personally be involved in. So what I'm going to do, drop to the 15. And let price run a little bit on the 5. At least we're going to get to the news embargo. Okay. So let's go. Although we do have a 15 news, so technically speaking, the news would be here. So let's see what happens. Candle before the next candle. Okay, pause there. I will be right back. So don't go anywhere. And I'll be back in a minute or so. Okay, so I'm back. So as we mentioned, we've opened, we're above midnight open, below true week open, and below the New York open. So as I said, for me, this is low probability. We did have, as I said, here, let's just mark it on, ES, which was here, know that, which was news. And we also have news at there. Okay. So to me, this is, as I said, low probability conditions. We're going to see how price continues, but the reality is we'd need to see some form of higher time frame level taken out. YM obviously above its true week open, the other two are below, but I suspect that with NQ is not going to be in a position to get above its true week open. So we're just going to continue. Like I said, we'll see if one of the time-based liquidity pools is purged. If the previous day's low is taken, okay, that's interesting. That is interesting. Previous day's low was purged on NQ. Okay. There isn't really. We have this candle here that. Okay. We haven't purged any H1 liquidity on ES. We have on NQ. We haven't on YM. So our next thing to see would be, we want to see a purge of yeah, we definitely want to see a purge of a H1 liquidity pool as part of the mandated elements to a high probability trade setup. Okay, so we have the previous day's low. We know where that H1 liquidity pool is. We need to see price trade below that before we do anything. Oh, let me just drop back to the M15. So nothing to do. YM trading higher towards its previous day's high, but look, we've got a desync between them all. What time are we? Potentially, this could be a liquidity pool. failed to close, which it has. So just going to mark this up as a H1 liquidity pool, and I'm going to mark this up as well. So we can see on YM nothing's been taken. However, should ES purge this liquidity pool and reject, we get a high time frame crack and correlation from these lows here inside of these high time frame discount PD arrays. That could set the wheels in motion. Set the wheels in motion to attack these highs. So still a lot to occur. What time are we? And I mean, we've gone past, I don't know why I haven't marked this up, but we've gone past equities open, which was here, hence the little volatility injection there. But as you can see, if we look at price for today, we traded up and now we're in a range. Now we're sort of in a range between these sort of areas. And that is symbolic of potentially CB manipulation today. And that's why you got to have your clear defined rules. So our clear defined rules today were, we wanted to see a purge of a previous day high or low, and we accept that YM is in close proximity to its high. However, NQ has purged its low. However, in addition to that, we need to see ES purge H1 liquidity pool in order for us to satisfy the criteria of a high probable trade higher, and we haven't seen that yet. So currently there's no trade. So could occur for the PM session, yes. Let's continue through. We'll be approaching the lunch hour soon. Okay, so let's go. Part of the art of trading is to not trade, as silly as that sounds. Not getting into the market where there is nothing to get into the market is, you know, part of the rationale. I mean, depending on what time frame you trade. I mean, there was a trade here. I mean, you had SMT at the highs. If you know, above 2 day, above 2 day, above New York, stacked, TO confluence. If in here, we drop to the M5, and you can frame something in here, maybe mitigation candle there, or inversion fair value gap, or whatever, and now you're trying to take this lower. That's a model, that's trade. It's not my model and trade, but it certainly is one. Okay, let's continue. And Still no purge of H1 lows. Let's trade it into a 15-minute order block. Kept the lows intact. We could see lower prices now. Okay, so I'm going to mark this but again, to me, because of where YM is positioned, there's nothing high probability here, unless there remains a cracking correlation between ES and NQ. And if I'm honest, I'm not convinced that that will be the case. Okay. So I'm just going to monitor what we see. Let's see on 5. And now we've taken out the previous day's low. So to me, yeah, there's no trade idea for me now. I wouldn't be looking to take a trade. Why? Because you've got YM purging its previous day's high, so it's trading in a completely different direction to ES and NQ. Then where we potentially did have high time frame cracking correlation at the lows, ES has now purged its lows, so now we have symmetrical price action. So in all essence, and we also have ES and NQ trading below their true week open, whilst YM is trading above. So market is completely decoupled. So for me, there is absolutely no trade to be taken today. So I would leave it at that and just read price action for the remainder of the day. There is absolutely no point to getting involved, because I can't see how YM would trade below its true week open between now and the PM session, if you will, which we're already into. In order to trade higher, no, it's just not going to happen. So so I am, as I said, not going to get rid of that. So we don't need it. Gonna play it through probably till 4 o'clock. Okay, well, FOMC minutes, it's actually quite volatile. Interesting. That's interesting. Right, I'm going to zoom out. I'm a bit too zoomed in. I need to see where this market could be heading, as I pointed out at the beginning of the recording, into here. Oh, sorry. Which is the first of the imbalances that overlap within a within parts of the discount range. Okay. So we know where. Now we know where price is likely to go, which was important. Had this occurred above the 2-week open on NQ, sorry, I was just thinking. Yeah, it would have been a high probability short, so we'd have had true stack confluences. SSMT here on the 5-minute. We would have had the 5-minute mitigation block, which was so technically it was there, but I could have included that there. Fair value gap just in there. We'd certainly have an inversion fair value gap, which is being respected. So we've got that. YM not traded below its previous days low, but it's certainly trading below its 2-week open. Okay, let's continue. We're almost at the end of the day anyways. Within the last hour, so there's not going to be a trade. Okay, that's the end of this day's session, so no trade. As I said, potential continuation model could have occurred at the highs. I would personally have liked to have seen NQ above the true week open, where here we go, where this occurred here, and then we had further SMT here. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there for now. I'm going to come back with another day a bit later in the day. I'm going to to take a bit of a rest now. That was actually a really good session, and it's just a case of showing patience and restraint. Not looking to jump into the market, understanding the conditions of the day, looking for what you want to see. I wanted to see NQ trade above its true week open. That was highly unlikely, so I already defined the day as low probability. Yeah, was there a trade in NQ and sorry, NQ or ES, with the fact that ES traded above the true week open, and the fact that the most important fact that we had low time from SSMT at the high relative to the daily cycle after ES had purged Asian range, and YM had failed to do so, and obviously NQ had failed to do so, and obviously YM did. So I knew directionally which way I wanted to go. However, the trade was not there. Unlike the day before previously, where the trade was there, this one it wasn't there. So therefore, I didn't take the trade. We keep our mental capital in check, and also our physical capital in our accounts in order, and then we go again tomorrow. Now tomorrow we have 10 o'clock news ISM. This is the day before NFP, so arguably in itself it's low probability, but if we see a setup and it corresponds with high impact news and various other factors, we will be positioned to take a trade. If not, we do nothing. We're not trading Friday. I don't trade Friday. More than happy to trade Friday. I'm not trading Friday, and then we'll reconvene the following week, Tuesday. And even on Tuesday next week, Fred Chair Powell's testifying, which I don't particularly like, and then Wednesday, no. The reality is, it's Thursday, Friday next week is where we'll reconvene and do something. Okay, so with that being said, I hope you took something away from this session. I certainly did, and I will catch you guys in a short while, where we will look at Thursday and see if we can frame something of high probability within that instance. So we'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.